Yay, hello. Hello.
Are we on?
We are.
Oh, mine says offline. That's weird.
Um, well,
I
you're
believe
on.
you. I
According to
believe
my
you.
stream output.
I believe you.
According to my stream output, we're online.
Sorry.
Yes.
Hi. I was shocked there. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Although I've said it before, every single day of my life feels like Thursday now.
Yeah.
Every day is Thursday. It's so strange.
I think I told you I
Um,
call it Tuesdays.
Tuesday's like, oh, Harrison is after you already.
I
Already.
know.
We've been
I
live
just
for
got
1 minute.
here.
Harrison is like, I attend this every time. You have to come correct.
I expect my content to be fresh from the first second, and if it's not, get out.
Right.
That's fine.
Know what day it is.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody. I've let you all down.
Sorry. I did, if you saw our Facebook, I did have time to shower.
Yeah.
I did shower. I did the whole thing too. I got to the wire where I was like, maybe I won't wash my hair, but I had time. Yeah, because it's my turn to tell this week's case, and I kept picking things that I liked, but I wasn't that into. Nothing like stood out. And then every thing also that I picked, someone else big had just done it.
Yep.
And I was like, And then at the end of the day, I was like, it's going to be one of these. So.
And you know what? Who cares if someone big just did it? Who cares?
Right. So.
I have a sidebar question about podcasts that I've noticed about myself a while ago, but I was thinking about it while I was getting ready because I was listening to one. Do you have any where you talk back to the hosts? Like, not in like, because you're so into the story that you actually start talking to them?
Yes. So I talk to Lore all the time. I talk to the Lore podcast. And I definitely talk to My Favorite Murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom.
Hello, Doreen. Have a lovely evening to you too. What are yours?
Yeah, My Favorite Murder, gently I do. I mostly laugh at that one or am agreeing, but I talk to True Crime Garage so much, and they're the only ones that I find myself talking, saying things as if I'm in the room with them. I'll be like, I don't know. Or I'll be like, yes, I totally feel that way. And they're, I feel like they're my friends, but they're not.
Right.
Obviously.
Well, that's what you want.
And then I totally they're very prepared and professional, but they also are good at the casual, the captain is good at the casual talking. And Nick is more serious, but he does he jokes around too. And I just the way that they talk with each other about the theories makes me feel like I can also contribute. And so tonight I'm they did two heinous, very, very gruesome ones back to back, and I'm listening to last week's because I didn't listen to it, so I'm listening to it now, and it's so gruesome. And I was upstairs getting ready, just talking and talking, and I was like, I guess I'm ready for the show.
Oh. Well, yeah. I hope you like gruesome because
I mean, I like gruesome. The one that they did, it's called, I think, the Mount Vernon something, and it's just these kids who killed this mom and attacked her daughter, and they did it for nothing, and they did it in their house. They broke into their house to rob them, and then decided that if anyone was home, they were going to kill them. And the daughter survived, but had all these issues. And the kids who did it, I'm calling them kids because they were teenagers, just so dark, really dark human beings, and really awful, and had no remorse. And I think that's what was gruesome to me. Not so much the murder was gruesome, but how they behaved after was worse. So they did a great job on it. I didn't like it only because it was ugh. When somebody is just, I guess that's what murder is, but you rarely get I feel like a lot of times you don't get the person's actual words when you do, and you see what a murderer is. It's so despicable that you're like, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is I guess good.
Yeah. I think you and me are kind of the same in that we are not the true crime people who care about necessarily the murderers and what they have to say and their perspective. Like,
No.
why you did it, fine. What's your motive? But like, I did not watch the Ted Bundy tapes. I tried it in the
Mm-mm.
name of like this genre that we're
Yeah.
in, but I was like, I don't care. I don't care
Yeah.
what you have to say. I do not give a shit, a
Yeah.
single shit about
Mm-mm.
anything.
Yeah, I don't care either. He's first of all, he's a liar. So anything he's going to say is for attention, and I just don't care about. I don't care about. I care in a sense of like, I think it's interesting, like Mindhunter, when they're talking about like why do you do what you do. Like I care about it from like a larger sense of the whole group. Like what is it that makes somebody so dark? But
Yeah.
as individuals, I don't care. Like I don't listen to true crime because I'm really into a serial killer. It's
Right.
not that about that.
Right. Harrison, I refuse to watch the Ted Bundy tapes. Ugh, the
Mhm.
groupies gross. I know. So every serial killer has groupies. When that dude shot up the
Yes.
Aurora movie theater,
He has
girls started
groupies?
dressing like him on Tumblr. Yeah.
Oh. The one with the big eyes? That guy and
And
the
the
hair?
wild hair, and he was like kind of like Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so, yeah, just no.
Oh, and Chris Watts gets like love
He
letters.
does. Yeah. It's ugh.
I don't get it. Like what are you hoping to get out of that? I
I
think
know.
yeah, it's really disturbing. A friend of mine whose father is a murderer, he married twice since he was
Wow.
convicted. Yeah.
That's a hell of a fact to drop in a conversation.
Yeah. I don't want to go into it because she's my friend and I
Right.
don't want to talk about it like
Right.
without her permission or whatever. It's a long story and blah, blah, blah. But he was married twice since then. And I'm just thinking, you know what this person did? They killed their like people in their family. Like it was
Ah,
not, you know what I mean? It's not even
yeah.
like you killed. I'm not saying that it's better, but if you kill like a stranger, like maybe
Right.
there was a mitigating circumstance. Maybe you were saving people. Maybe it was a bank got held up and you know what I mean? Like
Right.
something, or you accidental. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
But if you killed your family deliberately, I just like what is in that going to be in that relationship for you?
Right. Exactly. That's a whole different level of depravity because your family is supposed to be almost psychically like a part of you. Like
Yeah.
that's your net and your home and your base. And if you annihilate that, like people in the outside world, that's like an us and them kind of thing. But if you do that with your own family, that's a whole another level.
You also know that they're psychopaths who don't feel anything. So like
Right.
what I don't is it that they're in jail so there's like a level of safety like you're not really going to be together and so it's just this idea of it or do they really like you know what I mean?
If he'll never get out and you can just get married to someone so you can tell your mother at Thanksgiving that yes, I am married. Okay, are you happy?
And and he's got a lucrative
Yeah.
job. So much
Listen,
so.
he makes Victoria's Secret bras for 1 penny an hour, and he doesn't have weekends.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that was an episode of Seinfeld. Everything is, but that was an episode of Seinfeld where like George meets a girl. She's like in a low security prison, and he part of the reason he likes dating her is because she can't just pop over anytime.
Because he
Hang
can't
out
just
with
show
her.
up. Oh my god.
She like gets out. It's a whole thing, but anyway, and then
Yeah.
obviously like the magic is gone. But like I'm thinking like, is that it? It's just like a dream in your mind because if that person gets out, you're never going to sleep well. You're never going to enjoy your time together. They're never going to have a good job. Like there's a lot of problems.
Yeah. So theoretically, I ran a poll. Did anyone see it? Because I can't see it anywhere. That's why I've looked slightly distracted because I'm like
No, it's okay.
trying to find it.
Where did you run it in our chat?
It should have been, or it should have been a
Oh,
little pop up screen or something. Yeah, I can't see it either. I don't know.
hmm. If you're watching and you see a poll,
Oh, set a correct option if that's what you want. Um, view running poll. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think our control plus thing is weird. Darn it.
hmm,
I was gonna do polls. Okay, well,
we'll figure it out.
we
It
have
has to be
questions.
Yeah, just ask.
Yeah.
I will figure it out.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to do a poll. I just, yeah, it's not 100% clear. Um,
I don't, yeah. And if anyone watching, we're on Lightstream, but we also have the Control Plus extension. So I was doing that through the stream manager, the Twitch stream manager, but it didn't like send it to the channel. So I don't know what the hell is going on. And it's very frustrating. But if you have any ideas, please tell us. Please, I would love help. I would love input. My ring light is slowly descending behind my, it's very slowly.
you want to move it? Fix it. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. This is the close up of my face.
Oh, while we're speaking of polls, I'm going, so we can do watch parties for things that are on Amazon Prime that are free on Amazon Prime. And so I've been perusing it to decide what kind of watch party we should do. So keep out a lookout for ideas because I'm not sure if we should do something that's kind of terrible to like
Yeah.
laugh at, or I don't know if we should do something serious and be like, oh, this is good, good. So, of course, everything I'm in love with on there that I'm like, oh, it's a pay for it. I'm like, ah. So we have to do something that's available. So
I know.
I'm digging, but we have time. But if you have Amazon Prime and you are perusing and think like, ooh, I would love to watch this. Like if there's something even, I'm thinking like Hallmark movie-esque, like that matches to that thing would be fun to watch. Like if Prime had their own version of that, but murder related.
I know.
Wait, I think I just created a genre. It's like love stories, but there's murder. But it's a
That's Nora
Hallmark movie.
Roberts.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, is
Nora
it?
Roberts. Yes.
I
So
don't.
basically, I
I
don't know that there are Christmas ones, if anyone knows of any Christmas ones, but there were some movies,
Christmas in
the
Murder
Lifetime
Park.
ones.
Like I want to write
Christmas
that
in
one.
Murder Park.
Yeah, I'll write that one.
Oh my god, that should be merch.
Yeah.
Christmas in Murder Park. Now streaming.
And it's just like, yeah, there's like a couple and they fall in love because they find a dead body. Like they both are like in the park but separate and they find a dead body. And that's how they bond through trauma. And she's also there because she lost her job.
Of course, of course. Or she was newly released from prison for a crime she didn't commit. That one.
Right. And her boyfriend broke up with her because she popped in.
So she went to Vermont to a quiet, sleepy town called Murder Park.
And his family owns a B&B there because that cannot change, right? He has to be like low-key wealthy.
Yes. And a terrible businessman from the city is trying to buy it, Murder Park.
Right. Yes.
Turn it into a theme park, murder theme park,
Mm-hmm.
which is terrible.
Mm-hmm. What did I call it? Christmas in Murder Park? I like that.
Christmas in Murder Park. And it can have like a knife into holly berries and then they're red. Oh man.
Maybe somebody killed like the Santa that is there. I don't know. There's a lot. You can go a lot of ways.
Maybe you have to find a Santa body in the woods.
If you guys have ideas, Andrea and I are practically writing this right now.
Yeah. That can be a happy hour. We'll write
we'll write
do our improvised. We both have improv backgrounds. We'll do an improvised Lifetime Murder Christmas love story.
Do a writer's workshop.
Yeah.
And then we get a big time producer from the city people to make it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I love it. So should we do my thing? Are you doodling?
Yeah, I am. I find it very soothing because like I find myself able to listen better and focus since I started doing it. So it's very calming for me.
Yeah.
Is it distracting for you?
No.
Okay.
I just wondered if you're like taking notes.
Yeah, I'm taking notes on how well you're doing.
Yeah, like at 7:18, there was a awkward pause.
She had to fix her light.
Yeah, light fell down. Awkward segue.
No, that's how we came up with murder and Christmas in Murder Park. What is it?
Christmas in Murder Park.
I better write it down.
You better write it down. Take your notes.
Christmas in Murder Park.
was going to ask a question, but I forget it. Okay. So let me get started. Oh, no, tell me in the chat. I'm curious. Does anyone else do something while they watch? Because if I was watching a stream, I would probably have my phone open and playing like Minesweeper or something, or like Diamond Mine. Diamond Mine's my one right now, or like Candy Crush. Something stupid just so my fingers can move, or like Solitaire.
I love Best Fiends.
Oh, that advertises on a lot of podcasts. Is that really good?
I love it. I don't know why. It's very addicting. And what's the other one? Toy Blast. I freaking love Toy Blast.
Well, cool. I'm getting sick of Diamond Mine, so I'll try that
Best
out.
Fiends is great. I love it. I mean, that's how I heard about it, is from podcasts.
I know. Oh man, it's so nice when it's not a meal plan commercial. You're like, ooh,
I know,
an app,
or like a Madison Reed commercial, because I've heard all those. Right? I like when it's like, oh, something I could use.
Yeah. So speaking of podcast commercials, if you listen to Murder Squad with Jensen and Holes, you heard this story very recently because they did it October 5th. But this is, as you can see from the Chiron, the Keddie murders. This is also known as Cabin 28. So this is a very gruesome murder. And yeah, so we're gonna describe it. But like early on, I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but the detail is important.
Yeah.
So to get into like the mind of the killer or killers, so we're gonna talk about the details. I do have some crime scene photos. They don't have bodies in them, but they are very graphic.
You could just tell people to turn away during.
Yeah.
Like,
so if you definitely don't want to see that at all, tell me in the chat. Either way, we'll do it quickly. Because I got a lot of pictures because the police department released a lot, so they're in public domain.
I don't love those. I will look at them though, but I don't love them. But if you like, that's a good time to get yourself a cookie, a drink. You know,
look down at your Best Fiends screen.
Yeah, play a good new game.
Yeah. So my sources for this were, again, Murder Squad podcast with Jensen and Holes from October 5th, which is interesting because since Paul Holes is a retired investigator, he's like, oh yeah, I obtained the case files that aren't released from the people that are investigating. So I see he's basically like, well, I'm looking at the photo with the bodies in it here. So like, not that level. We're not that level, but they have a lot of extra information too. So that's good.
If you don't know Paul Holes, he is, what's his official title? He's like a forensic. That's forensic investigator, or he's a forensic scientist who's an investigator or something like that.
There's something, I don't know his official title, but he was an investigator in California, and he was based before he's retired now. He was based a lot on the Golden State Killer.
Yeah.
Which is how we know him, because we first met him in Michelle McNamara's I'll Be Gone in the Dark and was like, wow, this Paul Holes guy seems really cool.
And he's like the loveliest, like he's what, like the idea of what you'd want an investigator to be like good.
He has a lovely deep voice and blue eyes.
And kind, like not one of those like, I'm high on power, like genuinely interested. Like when I listen to him, he's genuinely looking at the evidence and asking questions and not ever jumping to a conclusion, and just really smart. And just like the kind of person that you would want to investigate your murder, I guess.
Yeah. Yes. So we're setting up our fantasy team, like fantasy football.
And Billy Jensen's just this, I think he's like close in age to me, but for some reason he is so much more experienced in life than I do. I don't understand how that works. Some people, I guess, are just blessed. He, like, his kids are like in college. Mine is in third grade, whatever. He's a reporter, an investigative reporter, and he does true crime stuff, and he just is like in with people. He knows. He's done so many stories, and he's very famous, and he does a lot. So he's just always all over the place, writing these really great, investigating these really great cases. So the two of them together are fantastic, and their podcast is about unsolved crimes, and they're really looking for information. Excuse me, they're looking for information so that if people have it, kind of like web sleuths.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just realized anybody watching might not know who those two.
We just realized there was a chance to fangirl about Paul Holes and his blue eyes.
Let me tell you about Paul.
He's also in the documentary "I'll Be Gone in the Dark" on HBO if you want to look at him.
Yeah.
Other sources other than Murder Squad podcast, although that is most of it, an All Things Interesting post, a Medium post, and Wikipedia. And as I said, the photos come from the sheriff's department in the county. On the morning of April 12th, 1981, Sheila Sharp returned home to the cabin that her mother and siblings had been renting. Her mother, Sue, had fled an abusive marriage in Connecticut and made her way all the way across the country with her 5 children: Sheila, 14, John, 16, Tina, 13, Rick, 10, and Greg, 5. They had come to the California resort area of Keddie, California, which is in the Sierra Nevadas, and they rented cabin 28. Now, Keddie used to be a really high-end resort area, but it had kind of fallen off, and it was getting it seemed like residents who were kind of like permanent renters instead of just like vacationers. The family had been in the cabin for a few months. They either got there in October or November of the previous year, and it was April. The kids had started making friends among the locals. Sue had chosen California as the location to be closer to her brother, although the town was not exactly welcoming to her. The kids were making friends their own age. They were going out and having fun and everything. Sue was gossiped about because people didn't like that she kind of kept to herself. She didn't go out of her way to make friends. She was on welfare because she had 5 kids, although she did get support from her husband. And they thought that she dated a lot of men. So on April 12th, Sheila had been at a neighbor's cabin to stay overnight with friends, and she came home in the morning and opened the door and found a horrifying sight. Her mother, her brother John, and her brother's friend, Dana Wingate, who had stayed overnight, had been brutally, brutally murdered. Her sister Tina was missing. And her 2 other brothers, Rick and Greg, and a friend of theirs who had stayed overnight, Justin Smart, were sleeping in another room completely unharmed. So that's the first weird thing. I mean, all the terrible things, but that's like the weird thing. So the murder scene was grim. I'm going to put up, actually, no, let's put up, here are the victims. So there's Sue in the top left, and then John next to her. Below John is Dana, his friend, and then that's Tina, and Tina was the one that was missing. And then here is the cabin. So this is what it looked like.
Oh, that's not what I pictured at all.
No, I know. I pictured a teeny little thing.
Me too.
But it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
Oh, that changes everything in my brain. I thought it was like a tiny, like a cabin.
It was 3 bedrooms. It was 3 bedrooms and had this separate suite on the bottom, which actually didn't go into the main house. So, but we'll get to that.
Where's the door in that she went in? Do we know? I'm sorry, I'm pointing and you can't see.
I think that this is actually the back.
Okay.
And that's a back door out on the top on the second story. I think there's another door on the front.
Okay.
So I think that she would have come in from the front.
Right.
So okay, we're gonna do a couple scene photos. There's
Oh, Harrison is asking if the cabin is still up.
They tore it down in 2004.
Okay.
So here's one of the photos. Sue, Dana, and John had all been bound with what Murder Squad podcast said is medical tape and electrical tape. Sue was laying on her side near the couch. She was naked from the waist down. Her underwear and a bandana had been shoved in her mouth, and then her mouth was duct taped shut. A blanket was placed over her, which again they make a lot of they make a lot out of, because they say when a killer puts a blanket over someone, it shows like care and concern and like familiarity.
Not remorse, but like
Right.
kind of remorse, right?
Right, because you're literally covering it.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that? Failed to. Oh well. Okay, so a blanket placed over. She had been stabbed. Her throat was cut. Her head was bludgeoned by the butt of a Daisy BB gun.
How do they know that?
Just the marks. By the
okay.
marks. John, her son, was closest to the door. His throat had been slashed. Dana, his friend, was inside on his stomach. He showed signs of strangulation, which is a way different kind of way to kill a person than stabbing them. All three had stab wounds and blunt force trauma to the head from a hammer. And I'm going to show you another crime scene photo and a photo of things that were recovered. This photo is a little more graphic, so I'm only going to have it up for a little bit, but if you need it down, just holler and we will take it down. We'll go back. But I only have a little bit more crime scene. So and the cushion is important, I know. There was a hammer and a knife recovered at the scene. That's the black and white photo down at the bottom. The knife had been used with so much force that it was bent. And as you can see, there's a lot of blood splatter there. There was blood spatter all over the room. It was on the walls, on the doors, on the soles of the boys' shoes and Sue's bare feet, as though they had like been walking through it, which is horrifying. And then the back steps. So I'm going to go back to...
I have a question.
Yes.
You said all three were bound?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go back to the house.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put the house back up. We're gonna put the house back up. But if you can see, like the pillow is kind of on top of some stuff. So, and it looks like there's a shoe there. I don't want to look too closely at it, but okay. So this is what Sheila sees. That's what she sees.
Okay.
Sheila immediately ran back to where she had been the night before, and that was a friend's family. It was a neighboring cabin in this campground where the Siebold family lived. And neither Sheila nor the Siebold's had heard anything the night before, even though their cabin was nearby. They did not hear anything strange. But when they canvassed the area, investigators did discover there was a cabin next door where a woman and her boyfriend said they heard what they may have thought was muffled screaming at about 1:30 a.m. They didn't know where it came from, so they didn't think much about it. Other people noticed that their cats were pacing or their dog was barking. Did you want to say something?
I was just thinking the bystander effect.
Right.
That idea that you think someone else is going to call the...
Right. Like, surely someone else is on top of that. Yeah.
Because you just think, like, if you heard screaming, you'd be like, call the police. But then you realize that everybody who hears it is like, if something's wrong, someone will call.
Right.
And everybody thinks that, so nobody does it.
Right. Which is not, even if someone already did it, call again.
Right.
Always call. Okay, so James Siebold, who's the dad from that family, he goes back to the cabin because where's Tina and the boys? And I think that he like went around and looked in windows because he did actually, I don't know the timing. He did say he went in to the cabin, maybe to look around and to see, I don't know if like he went in there to look for the boys, but he ends up taking them out their bedroom window so they don't get taken through the scene to leave the house. And that is the two youngest boys and their friend. So we don't know if James Siebold disturbed anything or moved the scene or, like, moved the pillow that I was, a cushion or whatever that I was talking about. Like, we don't know. So they have the three people murdered in the den. There's the three boys who are fine. But Tina, the 13-year-old, she's completely missing. There is no trace of her. They don't know where she went. She was in another bedroom, and the bedroom was empty.
Right.
And also her jacket and shoes were gone, and a blanket of hers. So some stuff was gone with her. The lights in the house had been turned off, the phone had been taken off the hook, and the drapes had been closed. There was no sign of forced entry in the house. However, so this is why it's a good thing that we have the back photo. According to Murder Squad podcast and this photo that I found after I wrote that, the cabin was a 3-bedroom with a separate basement apartment, which John, being the oldest, took. And the cabin only had a basement entrance and the basement apartment did not have its own entrance to the main cabin. So in order to get into it, John would have to leave the cabin and come in through one of the exterior doors. So as a result of that, they say the family kept the front door unlocked so that he could come and go from his bedroom into the main house. And I think that at this time in this town, a lot of people didn't lock their doors, so it might not have been that strange. This was kind of that place. Like, I think it was like starting to turn the other way, but at this time it was still like that kind of deal. So that's probably why there's no signs of forced entry. Maybe, although we'll get to that. So the whereabouts of all of the Sharps on the day before were this. In the early afternoon, around 1 o'clock, Sheila and Sue went to pick up John and his friend Dana Wingate from Dana's home, which was in Quincy, and then they drove them back to Keddie. Then 2 hours later, John and Dana hitchhiked back to Quincy. They were probably going to visit friends. They were seen at a party at the Oakland campgrounds in Quincy. At some point, they made their way back to the cabin in Keddie. They probably hitchhiked back. There are people that confirmed that they gave them rides. And we don't know what time. I think we do know what time. I think they came back between like 10 p.m. and the murders, I think, because they're not mentioned as being in the house when everyone else, like other people, go to sleep.
So it's not the hitchhiker. Do we know if it's is it one of the theories that a hitchhiker may have done it? I mean, not a hitchhiker, the person who gave them a ride.
Not that I know of. Like, the person that gave them a ride, like, followed them into the cabin and murdered everybody.
Yeah.
I guess that's possible. But we'll see. We'll see as we go.
Okay. I mean, I know the other parts of it, but I've always wondered about that just because, like, they make such a big, every time they talk about this, they make such a big deal that Sue was like, don't hitchhike home. And then they hitchhike home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. That part of the story is always like, well, why are you telling that if it's not related? But I don't know.
Right. So Sheila, the daughter, she had plans to stay with the Siebold's. They were the nearby cabin. She left about 8 p.m., and Tina was already at the Siebold's because she was friends with the family. So she was already watching TV. So Sheila met her there. And then Tina went back to cabin 28 around 9:30 p.m. Sheila stayed in the house with the Siebold's because she was going to stay overnight. Mm-hmm. So we have Sue in the house with Rick and Greg, her children, their friend Justin Smart, whose family lived in a cabin nearby. And Sheila leaves. Tina comes home for the night. And then at some point also the boys come home, and at some point the murder happens. All of that timeline is fuzzy. So that's the timeline we have. So speaking of the hitchhiker and why that may or may not be more or less plausible is Paul Holes from Murder Squad's theory is an intruder or intruders came in with the intent to harm Sue after the kids went to bed, and the two older boys came home and interrupted that attack. And that's why they were also murdered, but no one else because they would be with the witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's again based on how certain things in the room were, how the bodies were. Sheila was or Sue was the furthest in,
Mm-hmm.
and then the two boys were nearer to the door. Um, the All Things Interesting post also says police think the bodies were moved after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't specify in what way. John and Dana didn't need to go through the main house to get to John's basement room. They could just go in that entrance. So it could be that they were not going to go into the main house, but they heard a commotion and then they went to see what was going on and they stumbled onto this attack. Or it could be that they came home and went to hang out with their family and then it happened. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Um,
You know what time they got home again? I forgot what you said.
I don't know what time they got home, but I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure it was after like 9 p.m.
And then,
Um,
I'm sorry. Do you think that that's perhaps why? Never. I'll ask later. I'll ask later.
okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. If
That
anyone else
was
has
beyond my question.
a theory, stricken from the record. um, okay, so we don't know at what point Tina disappeared.
Right.
We also don't know why the three boys were untouched. They had gone to bed earlier in the night, but it's possible the killer didn't know they were there. I mean, and I guess like it's you kind of what you think about that is kind of based on how much casing you think they did, because if they waited until all the kids were asleep and it was just Sue, then obviously they knew about the kids if they were like watching that. But
Mm-hmm.
then they're in the bedroom. Like there's Tina in one bedroom and there's three boys in another bedroom. Like did
And well,
they
if you think about it, Tina is 14. Like the boys were, I mean, 16-year-olds can like the son, the 16-year-old John looks young in the picture, but I don't know what he looks like
right.
in person. The other boy looks Dana looks older.
He
Uh,
was, yeah.
and you don't know what weird, like, I, not that a murderer wouldn't murder a whole family, but it looks like they took Tina and maybe the boys were too little and they just thought like they're little kids and they're asleep.
Right.
Why bother? Like, why bother if they think that they're sleeping? Why wake them up and then have like more people on your hands? In my,
Right.
yeah.
Right. It's so strange. Like, people theorize that they didn't know they were there, which is why they didn't kill them, because obviously they're down with killing whoever is in the house.
Right.
Probably. We still don't know about Tina. But oh God, I moved my thing. Um but like, why, how can you be so sure that they were asleep? Is just that they would sleep through it, that they had slept through it. Um,
I'm wondering
especially
if,
especially if the screams that the neighbors say that they heard at 1:30 in the morning were from this.
yeah.
Then like what are we doing? What are that how soundly are these boys sleeping?
Right. Well, I wonder if it's hard to know because like you hear murderers and like you're right, they'll I don't think that they would hesitate to kill a little kid, but maybe who knows, like maybe they don't necessarily want to, like
Yeah.
maybe they have a distinction because the one kid was 5. I mean that's little. It's a little.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know, but like they say, I didn't they say like that they even if the boys. So it to me, I have two things. My brain is going in two directions, so forgive me. My brain does that. So we don't know if they saw Tina in her room and decided to kidnap her, or if she woke up and they took her.
Right. Right.
Because if they cased it and saw Tina, then they saw the boys. If they didn't
Right.
know the boys were there, so be it. If the boys were quiet and didn't say anything, then they might have just thought like, then we don't have to kill a bunch of little kids. But isn't it thought that one of them saw something?
Yes, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll
But
get there.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm not, again, not a murderer. But what I would guess is that probably if I didn't have to murder extra little kids, I wouldn't want to. If I thought they were
Yeah.
asleep and they were tiny and
Yeah.
they were like tucked away and they weren't making a sound or open, like I didn't hear them,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would just be like, well, then I don't have to kill those kids.
Yeah.
That sounds callous, but it's not like out of a moral thing. It's more out of a like, it's less time, it's less mess, it's less problems,
Yeah.
you know.
Especially if there was noise and they were worried that someone would hear and come check it out and they
Yeah,
wanted to get out quick.
yeah.
Oh, did I mention that there were stab marks on the walls?
No,
Yeah, there were stab marks on the
forgot about that.
walls,
I forgot about
which
that.
is just like that and the bent knife and all the like different ways that they had been harmed. It was just so like it was just so much. It was so much.
Harrison said, "This is why I'll never make it as a serial killer." Why are you crushing my dreams? How
Does
dare
that
you?
mean you're just going to do the one masterpiece or does it mean
Just the one. And you'll never know which one. It's any of them.
right, just the
Uh,
one masterpiece
I'll
killing?
never go back unless I get a taste for it. Then you don't know. You
Yeah,
don't know.
you don't know. Where was
Stabbing
I?
the walls, little boy.
Stabbing the walls.
Yeah.
Stabbing the walls. And like, how do you sleep through the sound of someone stabbing the walls?
I
Doreen, so what
also
did the
think,
boys see or hear?
I don't know
No.
that you do, but I know that you do probably not do anything out of fear, maybe.
If they just were too afraid. They
Yeah.
did hear something, but they were too afraid to go outside. So all three of the boys at first claim, they're like, we slept through it. We didn't hear anything. We have absolutely no information to give you. There was blood on Tina's bed, which possibly means that she had been taken in a struggle. It might also mean that someone had bloody hands and they like searched the sheets to make sure no one was there, like checked in the
Right.
room. It still would not explain if they did that, why they didn't search both bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It like they didn't like clear the house. There's also an unidentified handprint on one of the railings outside, which you can, I think it's that one, which you can see. So now the investigation starts.
My
Of
mom's asking
course.
what did Capital did the boys
Oh, it did.
here.
Right. So we're gonna get into that. At this point, they're just going with their story. Like we were asleep, we don't know.
Okay.
So of course, this is a murder. We gotta look first. What is his husband doing?
Mm-hmm.
Where was he? He was in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
So very easily scratched off.
The husband didn't do it this time.
I can't believe.
Dateline. That's why Dateline didn't cover this one.
Yeah, right. Unless no one was even like, maybe he hired someone. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was also a man who disappeared from the town right at the same time and showed up in Oregon. They checked him out. He was also ruled out.
Mm.
The news made national headlines because it's so gruesome and they could not figure out a motive.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, tons and tons of tips are coming in. We all know how that goes. Some are good and some are bad. And something that I find incredibly funny, even though it's not funny, but it is a little bit funny, that there are 3 different serial killers, known serial killers, who confessed to the killing.
They all do that. They
There were 3.
all do that in every murder.
Yeah. So 2 of them.
I'm sorry. I'm like getting really mad. I just listened to, what was it? My Favorite Murder? I think it was My Favorite Murder with the little boy, the famous.
I'm so behind.
The famous little John Walsh's son.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And how many? Oh, it's so upsetting.
Yeah.
But how many people confess to that?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It's like every unsolved murder that you can think of, there are serial killers who will confess to it and then say like, "Oh no, I didn't do it."
Yeah. Well, so this one, there are at least 3. 2 of them, Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole, were just
same ones for Adam Walsh. Same dudes.
Really? Well, yeah, they were dudes who would like confess to everything to up their body count and be like, "No, I killed 300 people. No, you actually only killed 10." Still bad, but like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
A third was actually taken seriously, the boxcar killer Robert Joseph Silvera. and because he was active around the time in the area. And the cabin did back up to train tracks, so it could have been. It wasn't his
Right.
MO because he used to like get on the train and kill people on the train,
Mm-hmm.
but he could have easily switched things up.
Yeah.
But then they look into him and they're like, dude, you were in prison that night.
Right.
Like, so I imagine like all of these serial killers, like, oh my, so I did that one. I did that one. And the investigators are just like, no, you didn't. You didn't do that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I don't know why it cracked me up. But just to be like,
I hate Henry Lee Lucas and Otis O'Toole because, like, you think about how much damage they did.
right.
I hate that. First of all, I hate them for what they did, but then also just like confessing to stuff just to get credit is so dark,
Right.
gross.
It's so, yeah. And provably, ones that provably they could not have done.
Right.
It's just, it's such an ego trip. Okay, Boxcar Killer. He was in jail. There were some in the community. I remember there's a lot of gossip going around about this family. They theorized that it was a drug hit. And Dana's cousin goes to the police and says that Dana had stolen LSD from a local dealer, but that doesn't really materialize into anything. They drop the idea that it was drugs. They didn't find any paraphernalia in the house. And of course, since it's the 80s/90s, there are satanic panic people. So there's that. People come out and say, it's a satanic ritual. It's a ritual killing. But again, that doesn't go anywhere. So that gets dropped. Then, and this is when we get into what the boys saw, police questioned Justin's family. So they lived also in one of the cabins nearby. And Justin was friends with the boys. He was the friend in the bedroom. That was fine. And this is when things get interesting. So that cabin where Justin Smart's family lived was home to Justin, his mother, Marilyn, her husband, Martin, who was Justin's stepfather, and Martin's friend, John Boobeed, he went by Bo, who was kind of an unsavory character. He was an ex-con who I think they met at like a VA hospital or treatment center, and he was rumored to be involved with the mob. So the three adults in the house, now the kid is off spending the night with his friends, so the three adults go out drinking that night. Marilyn, they went to, I forget what the bar is called. It's something, it's like a dive.
Yeah.
And it's something you're like, of course, but then it's also like, oh.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. So they all go out, they're drinking. Marilyn leaves the two guys to come home and go to bed at around 11 p.m. She left them at the bar. She says then that she woke up at 2 a.m. to see them burning strange things in the fireplace that she couldn't figure out. So also at this point, remember the neighbors said they heard screaming around 1:30 and this is 2 a.m. And then bar patrons say that the two men left the bar a little bit after Marilyn, but then they came back later. And when they did, they were wearing totally different outfits. They had gotten dressed up in 3-piece suits and were wearing sunglasses, even though it was the middle of the night. So I don't know what time this is, if this is like before the 2 a.m. burning or after the 2 a.m. burning, because how long are bars open? But
do they have, I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking, like, I know New Jersey has that grandfather clause, so I think bars can stay open, some of them, if they were previously till 3, but I don't know what other,
right.
Or maybe it's another time. It's later than most bars, but it's because they were there when it was different, but I don't know when Corey Hart.
The night where the Corey Hart.
I don't know if they have such a rule in California.
And it's 1981, so I don't know when the bars closed in 1981. It could be way different.
And it could be one of those bars that's low-key just open.
Yes, we do. We work out. So yes, what a wonderful on topic question. So they go back to the bar, they leave the bar, they get changed, they do a costume change, they go back. Then Martin and John Bo get interviewed together by the sheriff, who is their buddy. And during the interview, Martin volunteers the fact that a hammer has recently gone missing from his home, even though the police have not released information about possible murder weapons. So he's just like, I just want to let you know. Oh, the sheriff also says that they pass a polygraph. But yeah, Martin's like, I just want to let you know, apropos of absolutely nothing, that I'm missing a hammer. Cool.
And also the question, I love the questioning them together. That never happens in any circumstance unless it's like a deliberate,
Right.
But never, usually never, because they're like,
Right.
well, we have your friend in the other room. They play that game.
Right. They play them against each other. Yeah. Paul Holes thought that was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
It also came to light that Sue, the mom, was acquainted with the Smart family, not just as the mother of their son's friend. There was a rumor, and I don't know how much truth is to it, that she had been having an affair with Martin.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all these little details.
Yeah.
And I just listened to it.
I know. There's so much. Sue had also just told Marilyn that she needed to leave Martin. She's like, he's gross. Right. Leave him. Sue could have him, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sue had also rebuffed advances from Beau Boubede, who had developed a crush on her, I think multiple times. And immediately on hearing that, I'm like, okay, that's who did it. Because we know there are so many stories of violence happening to women when they say no to men. Mm-hmm. Especially if they've said no a lot of times and they're like, please just leave me alone. Mm-hmm. So every single person here has a motive. Every single one. All of these motives. We start the crime scene and no one can figure out a motive. And then suddenly we're interviewing this one family down the way and everybody's got a really strong motive.
Right.
So this is the part where they also question the boys who are asleep in the bedroom. So Rick and Greg insist they slept through the whole thing. They are only 10 and 5 too. And Justin is 12.
Which is young, like 10, I know sometimes like from the outset seems like it's not, it's such a little kid. They're such little kids.
Yeah. So they're slept through the whole thing. Justin says, well, I dreamed about the murder. I had a dream. I had a dream about it. So, but he doesn't say I saw anything. He just says I had a dream. So they put him under hypnosis to see what they can get out of him, which is not really reliable, but fine.
You're kidding.
Yeah, right. It's unreliable as all get out, especially with children who are very easily led. But Justin does say some interesting details. He has some interesting details, which is strange. He says he saw two men. One had short hair and a mustache. One had no mustache and longer hair, like a Pete Rose haircut, but like longer. I don't know.
I don't know why that's funny to me. I'm sorry.
It was very cool then. I don't know. No, so
it's like an ugly bowl cut, right? It's like very.
It is. Yeah. I will actually show you because he also says, I have it. Because he also says that they were both wearing glasses. And we don't know if that's sunglasses or regular glasses. Right. They were both wearing them. So here is, I think it's this one actually. Here is a picture of his dad on the left and the friend Beau on the right. And the sketch that they made of them from Justin's quote unquote dream / hypnosis. So that's that. So he says, so he describes these guys like this. He says they're wearing glasses. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, the guy on the right looks a lot like the Martin who's on the left up top, which is his dad. That's Justin's stepdad. That's his stepdad.
How do you not know unless he just doesn't want to know?
Right. Unless he's traumatized and forgot it. So the Beau kind of doesn't look like it unless he's thinking like Martin's the one on the left at the bottom and Beau's on the top. So it's not uncanny, but also at the same time, wow. Mm-hmm. And this is a kid trying to describe like a quote unquote dream / hypnosis. So Justin also says, which is very interesting, he goes, they hit Sue in the chest, which is true. She was stabbed in the chest. He said the older boys then came home and started arguing with the two men. Oh. He also says Tina came into the room and one of the men took her outside. So that's why they decide to make the sketch based on what Justin gives them, because this is a lot of detail that does corroborate things that they think happened
Mm-hmm.
or things that did happen. So, and then also, it's kind of a reason why Tina maybe was taken and would have been injured and the boys weren't, because she actually did come out of the room.
Right.
But like, so this kid, if this is what he saw, if he actually saw it, they didn't notice him seeing all of this stuff.
Or they did, and it's his stepkids, so
Right. Right.
maybe he was
So,
like, and then, this, you know what though, now that I'm thinking of it, this going back to, so they didn't kill Tina either. Well, I mean, not there.
right. There's no trace of her. There's
So,
absolutely no trace.
so in that case, maybe they didn't. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens ultimately if she's found. But they didn't want to kill her there. So if they didn't want to kill a 14-year-old, they surely don't want to kill a 10 and a 5-year-old.
Well, the 14, right. I think she was 13. But
Oh,
yes,
right. She's the
she was,
younger of the sisters. Right.
she's a young teen.
Yeah.
But right. So this, and the boy is 10. And then the two other boys are very young. And
Mhm.
the 10-year-old is Martin's stepson.
Right.
So yeah, like this, so it's uncanny and also it doesn't fit, which is kind of the whole deal with this case, like the sketches.
Mm-hmm.
Um I just want to, like, I want to pause when it looks like, because it looks like things are stacking up against these dudes, to remember what makes that theory weird. We still don't, like, if it was them, where did they have Tina? What did they do with Tina? There was no trace of her at all. Martin's stepson was in the house. That's Justin. He was in the other bedroom. Did he not know that his stepson was there? Obviously, if it was him, like, actual Martin did know, because their son was not home and they went to the bar to have fun. Why did he pick that night when his son was over and not wait for another night?
Yeah.
And did he know that his son was going to sleep through the whole thing? Was he certain that he wasn't going to have him as a witness? Like, there's so much,
It
unless
doesn't
it's,
make
yeah,
sense in that also why, even if Martin's having
right.
an affair, like, even if it doesn't, like, why? Like, I don't know.
Why
I don't see enough
all
of a
this?
motive unless there is one, and we just obviously don't know it. But
Right.
from the outset, what you described doesn't seem like a motive. But I'm not,
Right.
again, not a murderer. So
And to
things make
be,
murderers mad that wouldn't make us mad.
yeah, and to be like that mad.
Yeah,
You're that mad that you're stabbing the walls. And
and
there's just
a 16-year-old kid, like, that's still
two
a
of
little
them.
kid. Yeah,
Yeah. Two. Yeah. So, I mean, and if they were fighting and came at them, then, I mean, maybe that's it. But, and like, it was everywhere. It was so gruesome. It was so gruesome. And it was so angry. It was
mm,
so angry. So, I mean, hey, who knows? Women have died because they said no to a man on the street.
yeah,
And dudes get angry. But, I mean, not saying this is necessarily what happened, but
right. It
it
seems
makes sense. And also, it doesn't make sense.
it almost feels like yeah, the level of rage would have to be one of them would have to have that kind of rage that someone else saw before
Right.
towards not even just women, because there's two
Someone.
young men there. So, like, there'd have to be, like, one person would have to be suspicious from the outset because they had that kind of temper.
Right. Right. Well, Marilyn says that Bo is a mean drunk. For
Okay.
what it's worth, and they were drinking that night. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they just got themselves riled up because they had been rejected, or Bo had been rejected and Sue's got Martin's marriage on the rocks, and they were like, let's just do it. And I
Is
don't,
he a mean drunk or is he a murder drunk? Like,
right. There's a difference.
it's
Like,
such a difference.
some people just say mean things
Yeah.
and some people do terrible things. Yeah. Um, So after 4,000 hours spent working on the case, it starts to dry up. Martin and John are let go of suspects, and the sheriff tells them that they should get out of town, which is a great way to do an investigation.
Mhm.
So 3 entire years later, they find Tina. And initially, when the investigation started on everything, Tina's case had been given over to the FBI and then later the DOJ because it looked like a kidnapping, obviously.
Mhm.
So they had combed a 5-mile radius of the scene. They went over. There was absolutely nothing. There was nothing. And then in 1984, 3 entire years later, at a campsite in Feather Falls, which is almost 100 miles away, a bottle collector who's just out looking for stuff discovers a human skull. Just the skull. And a mandible part, I think, which is the mouth, which is the skull. There are also Levi's jeans. There is a jacket, a blue jacket, and a blanket,
I hate that.
which are things that Tina was missing with, and an empty roll of medical tape, which is the same kind of tape that the cabin victims had been tied up with, according to Murder Squad. And at first, this is just a gruesome discovery, and authorities can't identify the remains. And I don't think that they released the discovery to the press. This wasn't like, oh, strange skull found, let's go to the media. They just kind of started working on it, but weren't getting anything. And then they get a phone call with an anonymous tip that says, in regards to that skull, you should probably look into the Sharp murders from the cabin that were like 40 minutes from there.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. My laptop's about to die.
Oh no, plug in your shit. Girl, plug in your shit.
What a bad time.
I'm going to get a glass of water. And let you all sit with the fact that someone knew that they found Tina's skull.
Okay.
Because when they do testing on it, it is in fact Tina. It's
Wait,
just her skull.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what the caller said?
The caller called in an anonymous tip and was like, hey, so that skull you just found, you should see if it matches the murder from the cabin, the Tina girl who was missing. So obviously that's incredibly fishy.
Was the person like, was it Martin? Did he have a mustache?
Yeah, right. Did he look like that? Did he have a Pete Rose haircut but longer?
You sound like you have a Pete Rose haircut. Am I right?
Yeah, so that's incredibly fishy because who, first of all, knows that this has been found and knows that it's that and then calls in to tell someone? It probably wouldn't be the perpetrator because they don't want to get caught, but it's someone who knows about the case. So who else knows? Who else knows what's going on?
It could be the perpetrator because they might go back and be checking, how they like to visit their burial grounds.
Yeah.
So.
And insert themselves in the case. Yeah.
Yeah. And back then, I mean, I don't know, but I don't the technology wasn't there to necessarily trace the call in the way that we do now.
Right. So we have the answer of where Tina ended up, but had she been there all those years? Had she not? When did she die? Where did she die? Why was she taken instead of killed there? When obviously these murderers have demonstrated they are willing to kill and opportunistically kill people that wander into this cabin.
Mm-hmm.
Why this spot? Where is the rest of her? Is it just like animals and decay, or is there something else going there?
What kind of a place is this Feather Dome?
It is a state forest. So it's like a campsite in a state forest. So it's very remote.
So somebody who's familiar with that terrain probably has gone there or knows something about it.
Right. And it's about 100 miles from where the murders happened. So it's about like 40 minutes away. Cabin 28 was demolished in 2004. I don't think they built anything on top of it. The Wikipedia has just a blank woods. Um, in 2008, the movie The Strangers comes out, and the Keddie murders gets renewed attention because the plot of The Strangers is a lot similar to the murders that happened in Cabin 28, but the filmmakers never claim it was inspired by those murders. However, it shines a lot of light on the case and the investigation and the way that the investigation was mishandled badly. So then the investigation gets reopened in 2013.
Mhm.
In 2016, the Plumas County Special Investigator Mike Gamberg is in charge of the case. He admits that it was investigated so poorly. It was just terrible. His quote is actually, "You could take someone just coming out of the academy and they'd have done a better job." So it's basically the book of how not to do it. The tape of that anonymous tip was like tossed in a file. It was just like whatever. It was sealed and like tossed in. They didn't like care about, or like they didn't follow up on it. A bloody jacket that Marilyn Sharp says she found the day the murders were discovered and gave to police is lost and doesn't exist among the evidence. There's also a letter that the letter kind of gets made a lot of in true crime circles because the letter is from Martin to Marilyn. Marilyn divorced him the day of the murders. She like left him. She left him either that day or the next day.
But they went out together that night?
No, so they went out together the night of the murders. The next morning, everyone wakes up and the murders have happened. And then she leaves him.
Oh, because she thinks he did it.
She does. She goes on record and says that she does. She definitely thinks he did it.
They are so suspicious to me. Like when I say that there's not a motive, that's just me saying like you couldn't bring them in, and like with what they just have. Of course, you couldn't do anything with it. But obviously,
Right.
they're the most suspicious people around. I mean, nobody saw anybody else that they're saying.
Right. And the sheriff is their buddy, and he told them to get out of town, and he interviewed them together. And like, so, and this was a woman who it seems like was new in town, but nobody really liked, and there was bad gossip spreading about her. So, I mean, it could be, we don't know, but it could be a case of protecting your buddy from, you know. So this letter kind of becomes a big deal in like the true crime genre because Martin went to Reno right after Marilyn left, and she broke up with him. And he writes her this letter. It's about like all the troubles and he's how their marriage isn't working, all their problems. And the line that's the big deal is he writes, "I've paid the price of your love, and now I've bought it with 4 people's lives, and you still tell me we're done? What next?" So again, that part of the letter got out into the wider world, but Murder Squad was able to get the entire letter. And in context of the whole letter, he may actually be talking about his own children who are estranged, and like he doesn't have a relationship with them because of the marriage with Marilyn. So that might be what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that might not be a thing. So don't put too much on the letter. A counselor he saw when he went to a VA treatment center for mental help says that he confessed to the murder. The counselor comes forward and says he murdered Sue, but not the boys. He didn't have anything to do with the boys. He didn't say anything else about who else helped him. He said he had murdered Tina because she witnessed the whole thing. So the counselor takes us to the police, and the police dismiss it as hearsay. Yeah. So it doesn't.
Also, the counselor is the counselor supposed to tell? Is this before patient? I mean, how old
Patient
was
confidentiality?
Patient confidentiality. I think it was around in the 80s.
Yeah, I think if they confess to a murder, you're allowed to break that.
Are you?
I think.
They never do on Law and Order.
They never do on Law and Order. I know a priest is allowed to break the seal of the confessional.
They are?
Yeah. Yeah. If someone's in
didn't think-
danger or if someone confesses to, I think.
I thought that they weren't. Maybe it's up to that person's discretion. I thought that they had to keep that secret, till their death. And beyond, obviously.
Right. Don't whisper it in Jesus' ear when you get to the pearly gates. You know he's such a gossip.
Somebody else with
Listen, he's just going to tell Paul, and then Paul's going to write a book, and then it's going to be everywhere.
It would be Judas that wrote the book. But no, I thought that you couldn't tell. But again, this is my Law and Order knowledge, not my real life.
Right. So yeah. So okay. So your mom's.
You don't think so? What, Mom? That they can say it, or that they can't?
I think she's saying I don't think the priests are allowed to break the seal of the confessional if someone confesses to murder. I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't know. So there's no evidence that he did tell a priest. So
right, but I didn't think your counselor could either. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it's your discretion. Maybe in both cases, it's your discretion if you feel like lives are, because I mean, I don't know. That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody who knows, tell us.
Right. But again, so
go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I was just going to go back to like, cool, you've got a confession and you said you murdered Tina, but you took her. Like, why take her?
Right.
Why take her and put her all of those miles away? Unless they wanted to do terrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that.
Sorry. I get it. I don't know why I'm not silencing you, but I don't want to think about.
Yeah.
But we get
the idea.
I don't want to think about it, but that's what I was thinking.
Right. We get the idea. Yeah. But then, even if that's true, where was she? And why couldn't they find her in the original search? Like, they searched everywhere for her.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know
if you listen to priest, lawyers, or licensed therapists must keep the secret.
Interesting.
Maybe the therapist wasn't licensed.
Ooh, maybe. Come on, VA, breaking HIPAA. I definitely knew that about lawyers.
Yeah, there was no HIPAA. It was whatever they call it. But anyway. So Paul holds today, as a matter of fact, because I was listening to the newest case, and he showed. They said they were going to post a video, but not the point. He showed Billy a picture, and he said, "There's a dead body in that photo. Can you see it?" Because he was talking about a case. And they were talking about how hard it was to see a photo. Like, in other words, it was like a crime photo where the corpse was in there, and it was really hard to see, even when you knew it was in there. So I guess the point is, he said, like, even though you think you would see a body somewhere or bone somewhere, and then if it was just a head and a mandible, it could very well be animal predation that moved those two things. So not 100 miles, but who knows where in the park.
Right. If they dumped her there, then animals could have taken over from there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In 2016, another piece of evidence was found, a hammer in the local pond that matched a description of the hammer that Martin lost. And the detectives say that the way that they found the hammer, it had to have been deliberately placed there. And when I read that, I was like, how different does a hammer look from every other hammer?
Right. Like, how do they know it's Martin's hammer?
How do they know it's his?
It says, has his initials on it.
Right.
And Martin loves Santa.
Yeah, right. Oh, XOXO Murder Falls.
How could you tell unless it was a specific, like, I lost my DeWalt hammer.
Right.
And it happened to be a DeWalt hammer or something like that.
Right. Let me put them back up. Yeah, so again, and also, like, if it's Martin's hammer, he also said his hammer was missing. So it doesn't definitely make it the murder weapon, but it doesn't not, because it might be. And then there was another hammer found at the scene. So this is like multiple hammers,
right, that's
multiple knives.
Do we
Um,
know anything else about? I feel like I don't know enough about Sue to be able there. Okay, so I have two questions.
yes.
First is that I feel like I don't know enough about Sue to be able to make any sort of guess at theory, make a theory. Like the theory about the neighbors is clear because she was seeing the one, the other she rejected the other one. Like that's pretty clear. The fact that people didn't like her, like okay, but like I'm wondering what else we know about her because that might give us a clue as to who might be hanging around. Like you said, she
Right.
saw a lot of guys, which is fine, but like, was she seeing anyone besides Martin at that time? Like, did she
Yeah.
pick anybody specifically off around that time? Like, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot. There's a lot we don't know. Like that doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
then the other thing is, was there DNA?
Well, so it was the 80s, so they didn't collect for DNA. So now,
Some cases do with the idea, like some cops had the foresight of being like someday. So I didn't know.
well, yeah, so they did collect stuff. But this is 1981 too, so that could even predate foresight. So not a ton, but in 2016, so in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the hammer's found, and they
Mm-hmm.
make this announcement about the hammer. They also, at that time, they say that the investigation also reveals that they have 6 suspects. So, um, where
Six
was the
suspects or six people of
6?
interest?
6. I read it as 6 suspects. I definitely read the word suspects. So yeah. Um,
Okay. Together
then
or just six
I
in general?
I don't know. I
Sorry,
don't know.
too many questions.
I don't know. It's a good question. Like,
Okay.
did they think 6 people did it? I don't know. Or if it's like a bunch of people who could have been,
Right.
right? Like, if there's a couple boyfriends, maybe they're suspects. Maybe Martin and Bo are still suspects. Like,
Right.
yeah. So they're looking into 6 people. That's 2016. Then the latest update is 2018 because then they're able to go back and test the DNA. So they go back and get see what DNA they can get off of stuff. And the DNA on a piece of the tape that's recovered at the scene that was used to tie them up matches the DNA of, quote, a living suspect. Now, that is interesting because Bo died in 1988 and Martin died in 2000. So there
Oh.
is
Who are
DNA.
these
Yeah.
people?
So there's DNA at the crime scene on the tape that was used in the crime. So not like on something else, not like on a knife that may have been used to cut dinner 3 hours ago, on the actual murder props or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's from a totally unknown person. So who is that?
Right, that's what I mean. They're not releasing, like I would have, if I were going to salute this, I would have no idea where to start because I'd be like, well, what else is going on in their lives? Right? Like there's
Right.
so much unknown. I don't know what John's into. I really don't think it has anything to do with his friend Dana because he was there visiting and could have easily gone, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, what was going on? What was going on with the mom? But then I go back to the hitchhiking, and it could be the people who dropped them off and went back inside.
Yeah. Who were like, ooh, this is a really rural area. Let's
Hmm.
kill him.
And
I
then maybe
mean,
they were like chatting on the way home about like their mom and their situation, and the person was like
yeah.
Marty. But they said that
Martin.
they say that the fingerprints are match somebody who's a suspect who's alive, and Martin's dead unless
Yeah.
there's a third man with them.
Right. So it's somebody else. So the case is still active. I will tell you, Sheila, the daughter, the only survivor of that family.
What happened to the
Um,
boys? The little boys?
oh no, you're right. Duh.
Okay, I was like,
Her
"Oh,
and her 2 brothers. Oh my
no.
god.
What happened to those
I'm
little
like,
boys? Do they wanna come live with me?" They're like older than me now.
They ran away to Mars. No. So no, so Sheila has actually it works in law enforcement and is active in keeping the case alive.
Cool.
So that's her. The case is still active, and investigators say they have multiple living suspects, but as of now, the murders of Sue, John, Dana, and Tina at or around Cabin 28 in Keddie, California remain unsolved. However, authorities say, and this is a quote, there are persons of interest still living who knew or participated in this crime and should now be worried.
I want to know who lived there at the time who's still alive now,
Right.
because that to me that makes the most sense, is that it's somebody who was living in that area.
Right.
If it's somebody coming in, you would think people would see that. Although I mean, even though it's a transient, is that the right word?
It kind of is.
But it's not, because everybody knows each other. So you would see cars coming in and out. So, but like I said, like the person who was driving them, in my mind, is a suspect, because that would be that was late at night when they got home, and maybe people were already in bed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to me, what makes them, and then the murders didn't happen till later, unless the kidnappers like turned around and came back or whatever. But to me, it seems like it has to be someone who lived in the area. But then again, why would you kill 3 kids?
Right.
Leave two kids alive, 3 kids alive, kill 2 kids, a mom, 3 kids and a mom.
Take the other one to kill later.
And then one is just at a friend. Like, it's so messy.
It is. And it's also like, who were they trying to get to? Was it just this family? And if so, why pick a night when there were other people in the house? Because even if they didn't know that the older boys were going to come home, if they were casing, they knew there was a friend over.
Right. Is that your cat?
The cat has a theory. What do you think? Who do you think did it?
Did an unknown person have any ties to Bo and Marty?
So yeah,
I didn't see that, Mom. Sorry, I just saw Martin, and I answered the wrong question.
Bo was rumored to be involved with the mob. So who knows? And also like drugs. I think they were into stuff. I do think they had like friends.
The mob would be a hit, and it wouldn't be messy.
Right.
Like that. There wouldn't be stabs. Right. There wouldn't be blood everywhere. There wouldn't be stab things in the thing. They would kill all the kids. It would be, in my opinion, as a fake detective.
Yeah.
A mob hit would be very smooth.
Or, they'd wait till Sue she was taking classes at like an adult learning annex. They'd wait till she was there and corner her and be like, you're coming with us. Right. And it'd be very clean, and she'd disappear and never be seen again.
Yeah, mob hits are pretty clean because they don't really want to get caught,
Bloody steps. Maybe driver was their escape car. I don't understand bloody footsteps. I don't know. That's actually a good question. If you're asking what I think you're asking, like there was blood all over. There was blood all over, but there wasn't like a trail of footsteps leading to the smart cabin.
So maybe somebody pulled up and...
Yeah, like maybe they got in a car and left.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Or they ran back to their house.
Right. And didn't leave a trail.
Yeah. Or like, the couple who said they heard screams. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they heard them because they were there. I'm just saying, like, you don't know. I feel like there's a huge piece to this that we just, every time I hear this one, I love this story because I think it sounds like they're close to, it's a mystery, but at the same time, I feel like there's a whole, every time they talk about it, there's a whole part of it that I feel like I don't know. Like,
well, there is
variables that I just don't know.
Yeah.
And part of that is, I don't know. I want to know more about Sue's life because I feel like she's the key to it. But maybe she wasn't the target, but I feel like she was.
I feel like she was too, because because she was assaulted, honestly,
Yeah.
because of that. Like, yeah. Um, yeah. And because they put a blanket over her, but no one else,
Unless Tina was the target. She was
unless
the
Tina was the
kidnapped
target.
one.
But they could just, I don't know, I'm assuming her bedroom had a window. They could just go in through the window. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they couldn't.
It would be wild
They
if
were
when
gonna go
they,
get her and the boys would be away. Who knows? Like, if Tina was a target, then that throws everything off. But it's interesting to me that they took her with them. Wouldn't it be something if the
right,
target was the daughter who wasn't there? Huh. Yeah.
Sheila, ooh, yeah. But she wasn't, like, they could have just popped her when she left to go to the neighbor's house.
Yeah.
And the same with Tina. Like, Tina at some point left her sister at the neighbor's house and then walked back to the cabin
Hmm.
by herself, I guess. They could, I mean, if she's the target, they could get her there. So again, it's like, if that's the case, is there a failure of casing, or did they
Hmm.
did they not do any? Or yeah, it's
Yeah.
so strange. It's
Unless
so
they
strange.
thought like daylight and people around would be more,
It was
unless they
it's
wanted to cover a night thing, but then like they were then fine with going in and confronting the mom. So
it
I'm
was
thinking it's either the mom or the little girl that was the target. I honestly don't think it was the boys, unless it was the guy or people who gave them a lift. That they were a variable. They were, who knows when they were going to be home, and
right.
they didn't have a thing. Whereas Tina and the mom, and even Tina, like she came home. She could have easily stayed at her friend's. So it seemed like the mom would be the only constant who would always be home.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, so I don't know why Tina didn't spend the night, but and her sister did, but it could have just been like she didn't want to. Um but yeah, but no, they both walked in the dark to and from the neighbor's house. It was like 8 o'clock and 9:30
Oh,
p.m.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, they
so
were watching
dangerous.
TV at night. Yeah.
What are these parents
Well,
thinking?
it's the campsite where they live and no
I
one
know,
locks their
I know,
door.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm
So
from 81. I get it. I get it.
yeah. So apparently the whole thing, like, of course, rocks the community. People start locking their doors. It's covered by like People magazine. There's a documentary about it called
Ooh,
Cabin 28 that I didn't have a time to watch,
ooh, I want to
but
watch that.
I think in that is where Marilyn says that she's certain Martin did it with Bo.
And maybe they
But
just had friends who help. Like maybe they got people
maybe
at
they
the
did.
bar to help them.
Yeah, I mean, who is the unknown living suspect? That's to me
Yeah.
like the juiciest part, because then there's a whole nother part of the story that we don't know.
Unless they're just saying that, no, because the other people are dead. Duh.
They're dead.
I
Yeah.
was like, maybe they're saying that to intimidate. And then I got to the dead people. And I was like,
Right.
no, that is not it. It's curious to me. Yeah, the mom is always the constant, I believe. She's always going to be home unless she's taking her night class. The kidnapping of the little girl to me is also very curious because I mean, I get it. I get why, like, assaulting her, but the family was dead. I guess because the boys were home. I don't know. It just seems weird to me that you would then kidnapping became part of it.
Right. Right. And then if you're gonna kidnap her for a reason, then why does the reason expire sometime between that night and 3 years later?
Right.
Right? Like what
I think it
happened?
expired right away. I think that they killed her right away, but just took her away from the home first. But
So weird. It's so weird.
yeah, it makes very little sense. But I'm sure that there's an easy explanation to it. But like again, kidnapping is such a like that is a huge undertaking to take somebody. I mean, I know first of all that means the FBI has to get involved, but that's neither
Right.
here nor there. For
Right,
them,
right.
they might not know that, but you have to know like now you have a child who's unpredictable, and you're taking them out. She could scream when you're out. I mean, who knows?
Right, especially if you didn't plan and you're just opportunistically kidnapping her because she's a witness.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what seems like. What do you like? That's what seems unlikely to me. But then who knows? Again, we don't do that for a living.
we
We do
don't.
this. We don't do that.
We can ask what I think is the professional baby snatching ring from that first episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Did you watch it?
No.
Oh. No, well, it's pretty early. It's made pretty early on.
Okay.
It's not a spoiler that the first episode is about missing children that were snatched from a park.
Oh, you know how I like that.
So you're gonna have a tough time with that one because
Probably because of Jude, yeah.
it is very, very hard. It's very hard, but
Maybe we won't talk about the first one.
maybe we won't.
Maybe
I'll just say,
maybe you know what? I'll watch the first two and then we'll decide.
yeah. I watched the second one. I'm 2 episodes in. The second one is fascinating.
Maybe that's the one we talk about. Yeah,
That's like
I
a
haven't watched it
conspiracy
yet.
one.
I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. That was a great story. So many twists and turns, and yet so many questions.
Right. Right. Like just when you think you figured it out, that mystery person's DNA.
Mm-hmm. I bet on Reddit there's some crazy. I bet somebody like has found stuff out.
Oh, I'm sure.
People are so good. People are so good at even sometimes just watching a documentary and like freezing on a frame and then blowing it up and finding
Right. Like those the don't fuck with cats people who are like, "Oh, that power outlet is unique to this country in Europe." Like
yeah. I wish in my head I'm that good, but in reality I guess because I don't have the time to spend endlessly on like many cases.
It's basically data mining.
Yeah.
It's basically data mining because they have to like comb through.
Mm-hmm.
But
and they probably don't have like 500 hobbies like I do.
Right? They have the time.
They have the one hobby and they're really good at it.
And it's data mining serial killers, unsolved cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had that skill because I guess you could if you studied enough. You kind of just have to go deep in that rabbit hole. I was for a while on like web sleuths. Oh, when the Bucks County, what's his name? Cosmo DiNardo goes out and I was on web sleuths all the time then because it was just like everything was blowing up on there. And I've like found my way to some other pages and there are some people in there who like there's one guy who he had used to be a tracker. Like he worked with dog. Well, I don't know if he worked with a dog, or if he worked beside the people, but he would do tracking of like footsteps and stuff, like be on his stomach, like examining. And so like now he was doing like post that job, he was doing like his own web sleuthing. And like he would read about something, then go out to the area and sort of look around.
Oh, wow.
And it's amazing what he knew. Like I was amazed at what he knew just from reading his his comments. They were like so smart, but he was just like he had that skill already, so he could use that. And he said like people, he said he's like an older middle-aged man. Nobody like he said he felt so generic that he could easily walk around a place and nobody suspects like the old man of like doing his own investigative work.
The old white guy that's just out for a walk because grandpas love to take walks. Yeah.
That's what he said. And he's just like, he's like, I look really unassuming. And so, and he's not doing a bad thing, but it's just interesting to me how many people sometimes are looking at something. But I think it's going to be DNA and crowdsourcing is going to solve all the crimes.
Yeah. Well, it looks like this one's close to getting solved. It looks like they're circling in.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. It looks like they put that out to scare the person into doing something.
I want the Zodiac to be solved so bad.
Yeah.
But that's a case that's like very hard to. I listened to Payne Lindsay has a podcast called Monster, and one of the series was on the Zodiac, and it's so complicated. And the people that follow Zodiac, and like there's like a whole club out in California of people who like meet and discuss it.
Oh, wow.
It's just like I feel like I can't even scratch the surface. If there's a club about it, I feel like I can't.
My Favorite Murder did Georgia did for one. She did that was like the 5 most plausible Zodiac people who were the Zodiac killer, and the one sounded really good. The one guy who was like owned the printing press and did an alternative newspaper or something.
Right. You know what? I listened
He
to that one.
lined up.
I don't remember at all.
I don't remember much of it, but he lined up really, really well, including like some of the symbols and
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the Zodiac is still alive. Harrison asked. I don't think he is, but I
I don't
also am not sure it's the same. Isn't there like a idea that it might be two people? Like because like one of the crimes was like in a taxi cab. Like there's so many crimes. I don't know. I don't know. I might be just getting like confused between Zodiac and somebody else at this point. Because
between
that
those two guys who confessed to everything.
yeah, it's Henry Lee
Didn't.
Lucas and Otis.
Henry, like you were 5 at the time. You didn't. You didn't.
I did it. I
I
did do
swear
it.
I did. I didn't. I'm sorry. No, you didn't. You
I,
didn't do it.
I do think Zodiac is dead though.
Can you imagine being the Zodiac and not being able to brag about it? I know. So, and like, I thought that with GSK, not that like you'd necessarily want to brag, but like you got away with it for so
Oh,
long.
I think he does, Brett. I think he thinks he's hot shit in the prison. I do.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's probably like, "Hey guys, I'm here."
Yeah. It's
And
me.
he'll
It's your
probably,
aunts.
I don't know. If
I
I was
have.
in jail with a serial killer, I wouldn't want anything to do with that person. I'd be like, "Stay away from me."
Yeah. Yeah.
I just murdered one. I'm not on your level.
And I'm just here for some light tax evasion. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
am, I'm
I'm
in the
here
wrong
for
place.
arson. It was an old warehouse. It meant nothing. I don't
Yeah.
want your serial killer vibes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, serial killers are of like a rare breed of disturbing to me. I just
And
don't.
also with Zodiac, like if they're dead, so if I was Zodiac and I was dead, I was if I would come back from the grave. No, if I were okay, so if I were Zodiac and I was like getting old or I was sick or whatever, I would confess in a way that it would be released after my death because then you get the credit and none of the punishment and you're like, "Ha ha, I got away with it for so long."
If you knew that you were dying, I mean, Zodiac could have gotten hit by a car.
True.
Or just like all of a sudden had a cancer diagnosis and they said like you have 10 months to live and he was like, I'll plan this out, and then he died 2 months.
And then he was procrastinated and was like, "Damn it.
But I'm
I
just
meant
saying,
to
like, he
confess."
knew he was gonna die and had time, but like, he might have had a grand plan and then God, the universe, whatever, was like, nope.
Ooh. What if an old, sweet as hell grandpa dude
Hmm.
took his last breath and whispered in the nurse's ear, "I'm the Zodiac killer." And she was like, "No, you're not."
You wish, Henry.
And didn't, yeah, like, stop confessing to murders you clearly didn't do. You were 5. No, but like, what if he got dementia?
Hmm.
Like all those grandpas from My Favorite Murder Hometowns that were like, he
Yeah,
kept saying
it
he was a
could
spy, and
happen.
we were like, "You're going nuts."
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Or just didn't remember
we
because
just
of the
lost it.
yeah. You just don't know. I don't know. That one is such a mystery to me. That one I would love to see them solve it. But I always say this, the biggest one that I want them to solve is the Delphi murders. That one just haunts me. I want, like, just for those poor little girls, I just want to know. I want that person to be in jail
Yeah.
and never to hurt anybody again. Because you think they're a danger to society for sure.
But
And also just
aren't
for justice for her family, like, to know,
right.
just to know.
But at some point, like, are they no longer a danger? Because the Zodiac stopped as far as we know, and Golden State Killer stopped as far as we know.
But I mean,
And
like, Delphi, I just think, like, if you killed little girls like that, you're gonna do it again.
how long ago is Delphi? I forget.
2017?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So that
Not
okay.
that long
That's
ago.
that's still within
Um,
range.
yeah, it was two, and then there was another murder of two little girls that's very similar in the same area, and I don't know if they think that they're related, but one of the there's two podcasts, Scene of the Crime and Down the Hill, and one of them covers the other murder, and it at least puts questions in your mind because it's very, I mean, it's the same area, similar
Yeah.
similar thing. It's two little girls who were together. It's during the day. It's like a lot of differences but similarities. And we don't know the specifics, thank God, of the crime. Not that we ever should. But yeah, I think like they honestly thought they were going to solve that
Wow.
away, and then I think so. Let me I just want to check the year to make sure that I'm correct.
Well,
But
that's like Missy Beavers too. They thought they were going to solve that right away. They were like, we got them on camera.
yep.
And then,
Yeah, 2000 February 14th, 2017
wow.
was when they found the bodies. I think that they went out the day before they got dropped off, and then they couldn't find them overnight, and they found the
Mm,
bodies the next day.
you
Um,
are correct.
and they have her Snapchat of the guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because the little girl, the one of them, Libby, Abby, I only get them confused because their names are Libby and Abby, and it's so similar. But the one girl was into true crime, and she Snapchatted the guy on the bridge who like came up to them,
Hmm.
and so he was like at a little bit of a distance, and you can see the grainy picture online. But even with that they first came out with a drawing of the guy, and he looked like the guy. They call him the guy in the bridge guy, or guy in the bridge. And then they came out with another drawing, and they said, we're looking for this guy, and he looks 20 years younger than the first drawing.
Hmm.
And they said like his vehicle was seen, I guess, around the area. So it's not clear what they know.
Yeah.
It's
They're probably
very
not releasing a lot of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very curious too, because this is someone, in my opinion, who has to know that area really well. Um,
Yeah.
so it's sad. That one to me, Bob. I mean, I think about it all the time. At least just like for the parents and the grandparent one. I think the same girl with the Snapchat, her grandparents are raising her. I think about them just all the time,
Yeah.
and how devastating. I don't It's not going to solve anything to know who did it, but I think it just brings some level of not
Closure.
closure, but
Yeah.
uh,
It's yeah, once it's hard not knowing.
yeah,
And it's a whole different kind of grief
yeah,
than knowing. And then when you can know, you can wrap your head around it, but before that you kind of can't, and your brain is always going to go into what ifs and maybes and avenues, and like maybe there's something I should be doing,
hmm
or it's yeah, there's no way to move on.
yeah. I think it is like had that interview with that girl or woman, and she was saying like your brain tries to make stories out of things, and so if you
Mhm.
don't have the pieces, your brain can't make sense of it. Not that it's not going to make you feel any better. It's not going to give you closure or like relief necessarily, but it's going to at least close the gap of the missing pieces of the story.
Right. It's the end of the story, the third
Yeah.
acted story.
Yeah.
Beginning, middle, end. Yeah.
And then maybe and I honestly don't think in cases like this there is a why. I don't think there's a reason that people do these things, but at least you can look the person in the eye and say what, like,
Right.
I'm sure they want to see that person, and they want to make a victim impact statement, and at least confront him as much as they can, decide if they have forgiveness or not. Some people need that forgiveness to move on. Some
Mhm.
people just want to confront the person. So I'm sure that there's a layer of just, it's better to know. And then also, like I said, like I'm sure that they don't want it to happen to any other family. And so there's that as well, because that would be re-traumatizing them.
Right. Yeah.
So I just whenever it's like little kids, I just feel like even when Georgia was covering the Adam Walsh story, it was so sad because I was like,
Yeah.
that's like it's like I've heard that story like I feel like my whole life, and the myths behind it, and then the real parts of it, and it's so upsetting because you think, to me, like anyone who would hurt a child or an animal, it's just beyond the bounds of depravity. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't it goes against everything in nature.
It does. It does, because humans are a cooperative society. So to
Mhm.
harm a child is to harm the future of the society. It's the really, really antisocial. Like murdering adults is antisocial, but murdering children is very antisocial.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I told you, like when I heard about the murder of a friend of like that he murdered, like my immediate always reaction is like, I'll take all the kids and all the animals, and like I
Right,
couldn't. I really wouldn't.
right, right.
But like
Yeah,
that's my first impulse is like, are there any pets that need adopting? Does a what is there like a is there an
right,
orphan that he can live here? And I
right.
think I think naturally as people, like that's what we want to do. Or like if you don't want to do that part of it, you're thinking like, can I bring the family something? Can I donate something? Can I like I think most people think of how can I help, not like
Yeah,
so it's so against that I think that that's the part that just that's one of the reasons I think why we do this in my opinion is because of there is that we have so much compassion for the victim and so much question for like the how could you for the person because
yeah.
it's so out of the realm of
Right,
decency. Yeah.
right, right, right. Like I feel terrible if I make someone have to go out of their way. Like I can never inconvenience someone so much that it ends their life.
Yeah,
I
if
would
I think
never.
I hurt somebody's feelings, oh my god, I
If
can't. Like,
I think that I accidentally cut someone off in traffic, my whole day is ruined.
mhm.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad.
Yeah, it is so true. And like with Jude, it's even worse. Like with my son, like one day, I guess he had to go to like a book sale, and
Mhm.
one of the moms told me that he needed. I think it was like a nickel. He was like short a nickel, and she gave it to him. And
Yeah.
I felt I don't know why, because it's of course somebody would help him, and of course, but I felt like I was like, oh my god, I didn't give him enough money. What was I thinking? Like I
Oh.
was just racked with like guilt and sadness, and I was like, how can I pay you back? And I'm like, can you Venmo five? I don't have any.
Yeah, right.
And then
Like,
like it's
oh
so
my
funny.
god.
You don't like you're, but I was just like overcome with it because it's my
Right.
kid, and then so yeah, like I think yeah, it's like the opposite of like if sometimes you know how your cats get under your foot. Like once
Mhm.
in a while, my cat gets under my foot. Oh my god, I'm like, how can I let him know that I would never hurt?
Right. Right. Right.
But they know
So,
that they know, you know. I think that that's the best of society. I used to think before COVID that most of us were like that. Now I'm very unsure
it's oh, yeah, it's so
because with
hard.
that whole thing it's blurry now how much we care about the taking care of other people. But before then, a year ago
Yeah.
today, I would have told you that we all are like that.
Or even at the beginning of it,
Yeah.
when people were like going out to clap for nurses at 7
Yeah.
p.m.
And like sharing activities for little kids, and everyone was like,
Right.
We've got this." And then all of a sudden it was like, "I don't care about your health." And
And
then I
then
was
we
like,
got
"Wait, what's
tired of caring. Yeah.
happening?" I'm
Oh,
sorry. Did you say what? And now it's like, and
it's
so
so
like, yeah,
depressing.
but in general, I think and I think that's why most people are drawn to crime on some level is because they they want to understand what is
Right.
not understandable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would like to switch gears. So before I ask you what you're going to do after this, I would like to ask the chat. I need a recommendation. Um, I might watch Unsolved Mysteries because that's like the thing I started watching, but I would really like something like fun in case I don't feel like watching that. I watched all of Emily in Paris and it was like perfect. It was dumb and
Really?
fun.
Okay.
So if you have a recommendation, I would love a recommendation of something else to watch that's the opposite of Unsolved Mysteries. Um, people are so overcome with their own COVID related
Yeah.
issues. They're pulling in. No, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
it's
definitely.
true.
Especially as it goes on, like there is definitely fatigue.
Yeah. I think there's levels of like what people can and can't do and
Yeah,
the whole thing.
yeah.
So you're
So
looking for a recommendation of a
I want
show
to wreck.
that's going to make you feel like sort of like you don't have to think, you can just have fun watching.
Yeah, something like Emily in Paris, or I already watched Floor's Lava, which makes me so mad because it was so good. Um, yeah, but something like that. While we wait for that, if anyone has any
I
in
don't know.
chat,
I'm trying to think
what are
if
you
there's.
gonna?
Well, Jude's coming over because he was away in Ohio visiting cousins. So now he's back. He's been back, but today, why didn't he come? Oh, because I had this tonight, and I had meetings all day. So even though I have meetings all day tomorrow, he'll be in school anyway. So we'll both be busy, and then he and I are going to go vote together.
Oh,
I've been holding
yay!
my ballot so we could go together. And
Yay!
then he has
No Hallmark
boys.
movies. Oh
Boys.
wait, actually,
There you go.
yeah. Maybe I'll start. I started doing Christmas voiceover work, so I could start watching Christmas movies.
So, and then he has Boy Scouts tomorrow, so we'll be doing all. I'll be so tonight is sort of like he'll be coming over and we'll cuddle and go to sleep early because I have a 9 a.m. meeting and I'm not used to getting up early, and
Oh,
I'm
same.
really not good at getting up early.
Yes. So Harrison recommends TikTok compilations on YouTube. That's a good idea. Fall
Golden
asleep to the
Girls is
Golden Girls at
always
night.
perfect.
I should watch that. I haven't honestly have not seen that in years and years and years. I should watch Golden Girls.
I
I
should
am
do that and
watching.
Frasier. Frasier is like very soothing for me for some reason. I don't know why.
I was watching Murder She Wrote. I started watching Murder She Wrote.
Oh yeah, that's
So that's on
good.
Amazon Prime. And I thought about doing a watch party, but it's IMDb content. So I don't
Mm.
think we can.
Yeah, I don't
I thought about
know.
doing like Murder She Brunched and like
That would be
watch Murder She Wrote during
yeah,
brunch. But
I would love that. I wonder if we
watch Pen
can.
15. I have not watched Pen 15.
Yeah, everyone says
I
to
hear
watch
it's amazing. I hear it's amazing. Um,
that.
Lifetime LMN. Yeah, I love
Usually,
that
I watch
movie.
Colbert right before bed. He's like, I'm like, I feel better after I watch him.
It's so good. Maybe I will. If I get sick of Unsolved Mysteries, if it's like too much, maybe I'll try Pen 15.
Yeah, let me know because that's on my list and I just haven't watched it. I have so many things on my list. I can't like concentrate on anything anymore. I need to like, yeah, I just can't concentrate. I've lost my ability.
I feel you.
I've been trying to organize. I'm working on like a book where I have to do a lot of research, and I'm still in the research phase because it takes me a long time to do research for this
Hmm.
reason. Is that like I focus on it and then I find something and I start to pull that strand,
Hmm.
and then I like am now lost in that, and I have
Yeah.
to get back to like this is what I need to do, but I keep doing like chasing the whatever thing, and I know you can't do that. I'm trying to keep myself in order and I keep getting distracted. It's very hard. Research is hard. It's not that fun.
I like doing research because it's like possibility. Just like
Yeah.
spin some plates, spin them in the air, and when it comes time to sit down and write the thing, I'm like, oh, that's why I always wait to write my cases until the day of,
Yeah,
and I'm like
I have the
so
same
anxious.
problem. Writing it is so hard. That's why I started doing bullets because I'm like, why am I writing all this? Because I have it in here. I just need to have like the main parts. But like, same with the book. Like, I don't mind research because it is interesting. But like I said, I keep getting like sidetracked. And then like once in a while someone will email me something like, did you ever see this or this? And sometimes it's like a crazy thing and then sometimes it's interesting, so I go follow that idea and I'm like, stay
Yeah,
focused.
gotta say good night to Doreen.
All
Good
right, good night,
night.
Doreen. Bye.
Said see you soon. Great show. Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. See you soon. Um,
So anyway,
so we are going to be on Friday again, right?
Friday I
Um,
would love to talk about an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
you want to pick an episode of Unsolved Mysteries?
Unsolved
Okay.
Mysteries. Let's say the second, just because if the first one is child kidnapping, let's say the
Okay.
second. It's more of a
Okay.
happy hour topic, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a happy hour topic. Kidnapped children, I feel like.
I'm telling you, there's so my not spoiler, but as you watch episode 1 of Unsolved Mysteries season 2 on Netflix, just know that I am certain there is a baby stealing ring operating in that area of Harlem.
Should I watch it? Should that be the one we talk about, or what do you've seen both 1 and 2? What do you think?
2 is a lot better for like wild theories.
Okay.
1
We
is
could
just
always do one later.
yeah, we could also start talking about 1 and talk about another we can do whatever we want.
That's right.
It's our show.
Right.
If I'm probably going to have them done by then if you
I
have a
definitely.
favorite one, if anyone in the chat has a favorite one, we are at Crime and Cookies on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Tell us about it. Yeah, I think I bought pumpkins yesterday. I think I'm gonna carve my pumpkins for
Ooh,
Halloween.
that's a great idea. I think I'm gonna carve one that says vote, but I just haven't bought it yet.
Yeah, I gotta
Last
figure out.
minute.
I gotta figure out what to carve. Someone carved "I'm speaking"
I
over
saw
like 3
that.
different pumpkins. It was
They
so
did like
beautiful.
Mr. Vice President, I'm
I'm
speaking, and
speaking.
I was like, "You are
Beautiful,
so lovely."
beautiful.
I need to do pumpkins a week before Thanksgiving. What is it?
Thursday. It's Thursday.
Whatever. And then yeah, so if you guys have a suggestion of one that you want us to watch, otherwise I will cut to that one. Otherwise I will only watch 1 and 2 probably before Friday.
Okay. Okay.
Only because Jude's gonna be here, so I have to like time it.
No, I got you. That's good. Then I'll just rewatch 2, and
Okay.
then I'll non-spoilery give you significant looks about the rest of them.
Okay.
I'll let you know if there's any sad child ones.
I'm fine. I'm like usually fine with them because I can separate it. The only one I have a hard time with, and I still watch stuff about it, is the West Memphis 3.
Oh yeah, I
I
could
have a really
not.
hard time with that
I
one.
could not watch Paradise Lost. I tried.
Cannot.
I tried twice. I just can't watch it.
It's
Yeah,
too. It's too much.
it's too much. Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. All right,
All right.
cool. So, chat, you have your assignment. Hit us up on socials. I swear to God, if I don't have polls working by Friday, I'm like, I don't even know what is going on. We'll see you. We'll see you
Friday.
Friday. Yay!
Bye.
Have an awesome Thursday until then.
Yeah.